when you're building a team and you're making plans, do you react at all, Brian, to what some of your competition does? Like the Red Sox make the big splash with Kimbrel and David Price. Does that make you deviate at all from your set plans before that happened?
I think generally it shouldn't. I mean, it can always. If I've seen, I've been around long enough, you see how franchises and all sporting landscapes operate, and it's not going to make us react. And I think over time you get some discipline to it. But I think you certainly see other teams, and we've been a part of it. And I'll never forget years gone by when the Mets signed Bobby Bonilla. We entered the winter not spending for whatever reason. And Michael, you're probably covering us at the time, and a job gone by, and next you know, Danny Tartabull comes on our, we're forced to go out and sign Danny Tartabull at the back of free agency, and it was more of a reactionary move to the Mets signing Bobby Bonilla. And, those type of decision makings they're poor. And so I think over years gone by, we've grown as a franchise to not be reactive and try to stay disciplined and proactive in the strategy laid out, that's been long talked about.
I know it's hard for you to speak what other general managers are thinking, but Michael and I have talked about it. You're signing these 7-year deals, just, I assume, thinking, as long as I win the first couple of years, I don't care about the final 3-4 years. Maybe I'm not even going to be here when that happens. I mean, is that the logic where there's almost a lack of caring about the back end as long as the front end does its job?
I don't think. I definitely would hate to think any general manager participating in that and sanctioning any type of deals like that would think about, I might not even be here, because that's obviously that's a bad thing. But I think when you sign deals like that, you feel like you're potentially a player away or so to having a world championship contending situation, and you go all in with the chips, and knowing that there's a chance that over the course of time that all these deals in free agency typically deteriorate, and you hope, depending on who it is, that it doesn't happen radically, or we don't have injuries that come into play that affect those things. But I think for the most part, when you see people make those decisions to go all in on a specific deal, it's typically a last piece of a puzzle that you feel once it clicks in, you have a heck of a chance. And Vegas odds are going to really jump to really be a world championship type contender.
Brian, do you have any intention at all? They call it a big splash, to make a big splash in the free agent market. Are you more attuned to trades to better the team?
Well, I think it's all relative to where you are in the landscape on any given year, and I think everybody understands that we have made significant commitments on a yearly basis. I mean, our payrolls are always consistently above $200 million, and so the narrative out there is that we do spend, but because of and we spend on a yearly basis almost more than anybody, and that's in the short and long term historically a fact. So, but when you have I think most of our spending comes when the significant side of it was when we have a lot of money coming off from previous years' commitments that are expiring, and obviously that's not the case that we happen to be in right now. As we run through the 16 season, obviously Teixeira's contract will be expiring, and Beltran's contract will be expiring, and then in 2017, Sabathia and A-Rod. So those are some significant dollars that you can forecast, coming off the payroll. But why we are in the 2015 going to 2016, winter season, I think that it certainly will affect our decision making and our ability to be, making those type of, long-term and short-term mega commitments. I think the odds are less likely. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It doesn't mean it's improbable. I just think it does affect the odds. And I think we're right now in the stage we are. We're continuing to execute a game plan that we've been very honest and open about, which is trying to get younger, trying to utilize the system, try to make acquisitions that are controllable assets with youth and ceiling, and that's what we've been doing. And we did it starting last winter and went through the deadline, and it's continued.
Now, do you think if there is an impact player to get, whether it's you or any other team, that it's more likely to come via trade, or is there an impactful player on the free agent market?
So this is a very healthy and strong free agent market, and you're seeing that reflective of the contracts that are being handed out so far. So it's a very strong, expensive because it's strong free agent market, and I think right now our pretty aggressive focus has been mostly in the trade conversations. It's only materialized into obviously the one under control asset we got from Minnesota and Hicks. We traded obviously for the area strength with Murphy, our catcher, to get a young, dynamic, ceiling, profiled outfielder that can play left, center, and right. So again, I just try to use examples of whether it's a Didi, whether it's an Ackley, whether it's a Hicks, whether it's an Evaldi, prior to that, the Tanaka acquisition and import from Japan, or Pineda, on the Montero swap. Those are the things that we've been, I think, known more recently for than some of the bigger splashes, and that's kind of the mode we're in.
At the trade deadline, not the trade deadline, and the winter meeting starts on Monday. What are you looking to do, Brian? I mean, we keep reading the Yankees would like to add a starting pitcher, look into the second base market. Can you tell us what you're looking into?
Well, I think this year we're, our team is fairly set, and it's now about, is there ways to improve upon what we had in place? Last winter, there was a lot of question marks and a lot of vacancies, and so this winter, as we enter that, we do have people in every spot on the roster. The one area, that you would say, well, you're certainly not sure 100% what you're going to get is the combination of Ackley and Refsnyder at second base, and we are prepared to go with that unless we can find an upgrade to that. That's a controllable upgrade, more likely than not. We have, in the rotation, we got Tanaka, we got Evaldi, we got Pineda, we got Severino, we got Sabathia, you got Nova, you got, Warren, you got Mitchell, in terms of, whatever order you want to put them in terms of depth. So the question, and then the bullpen, you got Miller, Betances, Wilson, and obviously if Warren goes back into the pen, and who's going to compete for the remaining spots, whether it's Mitchell and Shreves and the guys pushing up from the below. And clearly right now, if all the starters stay healthy, somebody's going to have to collapse into the bullpen. So it just comes down to, what's the opportunity to upgrade from any of that in a controlled, moving forward environment? That's kind of the thoughts we're looking at. And we've been very aggressive in our conversations with the teams of both the American and National League. But despite those discussions, we have not made a move since the Murphy-Hicks swap. And that's because so far nothing has gotten to our liking enough to complete anything.
Do you know anything as far as what kind of situation you might be in with Sabathia?
No. I don't. I think he's healthy. He's going to come into spring training and, obviously, tee it back up and get it going again. We saw some glimpses of hope that we're going to get, some consistent starting successful innings, from him. And, that's what we hope to get going forward. Hopefully he can secure a spot going forward in the rotation and be a viable member like he's always been for the most part outside of this past season. And, but, I can't predict, but I think he's going to be healthy, and he's always motivated, and we look forward. I think, again, I have touched upon the fact that I think he found more comfort with that new knee brace that gave him a lot more ability to get, finish off his pitches and get over full extension, and I think that's certainly affected, and brought back some of the movement off of his pitches that maybe, he wasn't able to complete in his delivery because, some of the pain that would then, get created as he was trying to deal with the knee issues that obviously he does have.
We're talking with Brian Cashman, Yankee Senior VP and GM here on the Michael Kay Show, as the winter meetings will start on Monday. Whether or not the Yankees will be active, that'll be whether or not there's a fit for Brian with what he wants to deal. And, we keep hearing newspaper reports that you're willing to trade anybody, and we keep hearing the names Brett Gardner and Andrew Miller. Miller was the reliever of the year in the American League. Brett Gardner, I know, is a favorite of the organization. You guys gave him a long-term contract a year before you had to. Is it true that you would be willing to deal both of these guys?
Well, I think they're both favorites. I think they're both value members of this franchise. Obviously some of the big reasons why we were successful last year, even though it fell short as a one-game playoff. But I think we have to be open-minded to any possibility, talk doesn't hurt to listen, doesn't hurt to talk, doesn't hurt to have aggressive conversations. The only thing that would hurt is if you did something that was a bad move, and but listen, you just have to explore all avenues to make sure that you're trying to do everything possible as you move forward, because the goal is to try to win a championship. Does that mean the championship is going to happen in 2016, 2017, 2018? I don't know when the next time that's going to come into play, but every decision you make affects affects the odds on that going up or going down. And so that's why, we're basically open to anything as long as it gets us closer to the goal of ultimately winning a world championship and adding a new one to the trophy case. When that's going to be, I don't know.